Hello everyone and welcome back to my little book nook. So today I want to talk about all the books that I read in February, so this is going to be my February wrap up. But before we do anything, I want to talk about the book I'm reading first. So currently I'm reading Paladin's Faith, which is the fourth book in the Saints of Steel series, which is funnily enough also written by T. Kingfisher. Now the last time I was also reading a book by T. Kingfisher, that was Nettle and Bone, but this time I'm reading the fourth book in the Saints of Steel series by T. Kingfisher. The Saints of Steel series is actually a series in which every book has their own cast of main characters. And all the main characters are actually side characters in books that come later down the line or that have already been. So for example, in book 1 we have a man named Stephen, and Stephen actually is also a side character in book 3 and in book 4. So every time we meet a character in a book, we've actually already met him a little bit in another book, or we're going to meet them again later down the line. Now the Saints of Steel series is actually about a couple of paladins whose god has actually died, and they become basically shells of themselves, and there are a few that are taken in by the Temple of the White Rat, and there they work for the White Rat and do everything that they are asked, because they don't have a job anymore, they don't have a god anymore, so they just do what they're asked, basically. And every book in the Saints of Steel series has its own set of main characters, and the book I'm reading right now, its main characters are Marguerite, who is a spy who pretends to be a merchant, and Shane, who is the paladin. So Shane and Marguerite are actually on a journey to stop the Red Sails, because the Red Sails are actively hunting Marguerite because she is a spy, and they have to stop the Red Sails from actually hunting on her by doing something with the transport of salt. I'm not actually sure exactly what it's about yet. I'm only 20% in. So it's something about salt and Shane and Marguerite doing something with that trade export so they can stop the Red Sails from hunting Marguerite and actually make a lot of stuff a lot cheaper doing it. So it's a good cause. Not exactly sure what else it's about yet. I'm too early into the book for that, but that's the book I'm reading right now. So that's the book. I also got my biscuit, which is actually not a biscuit but an Oreo, because I wanted Oreos with milk because I'm a child. No, so I got my book, I got my biscuit, and let's go. So the first book I actually read in February was Howl's Moving Castle. Now I love the Studio Ghibli movie. It's one of my favorite Ghibli movies ever, actually. And I saw this at the bookstore a couple of months ago and I was like, I have to get it. If you don't know the story about Howl's Moving Castle, it's about a girl named Sophie who is cursed to look a lot older than she is. Basically, she's a young woman and her curse makes her look like a grandmother. And she goes traveling. My cats are crazy again. She goes traveling and finds a castle that is moving all on its own, and she, as an old lady, doesn't really care anymore about the person that is known to be living in the castle, and goes and knocks on the door. She isn't let in at the first moment, but after a while the house lets her in and she kind of settles there. She becomes a cleaning lady. She cleans the house, which Howl doesn't like. He's always cranky because she cleaned the house and he can't find his stuff anymore. But Howl is actually fighting the witch that cursed Sophie, and somehow in the end everything goes right. Sophie gets back into her normal body, she becomes a younger person again, and Howl wins the fight and everything is happy and yeah, Howl's Moving Castle. First book I read in February. Loved it. 4.5 stars. The next book is actually not a book, but a trilogy, and that is The Lord of the Rings. No, I read The Hobbit in January, and I wanted to read The Lord of the Rings because I know Gavin has read The Lord of the Rings in the Shire House, and I was jealous. I wanted to read them too, so I read them. I even have the same copies as Gavin does because I have a box set of paperbacks, but I thought they were too pretty to break the spines of, and the pages were very thin with tiny font, so I was like, I'm gonna get the illustrated edition because these are stunning. So yeah, the first two I actually gave 4.5 stars each, and the last one because I love this ending, and not because the ending is better than the rest of the story, but just because it's an ending, and I love that it just completes the whole story. So the last book actually has a 5 star, but yeah, 4.5 stars for the first two and 5 stars for the last one. And then the next book I read actually immediately after The Return of the King, which was Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab, V.E. Schwab. I read that on the train to Belgium. Well, read it. I listened to it on the train to Belgium. I was visiting a friend and I needed a book to listen to. So Bridge of Souls. It was quick. It was fun. It's the end of the series, I think. I think it's the end of the series. Bridge of Souls. 3.5 stars. It was fun. V.E. Schwab just writes great books. So Bridge of Souls is actually about a young girl. It is a middle grade book. And the Bridge of Souls is actually the third book in the Cassidy Blake series. Cassidy Blake is a young girl whose parents are ghost investigators. They make a TV show on an English network where they hunt ghosts, which is obvious because it's a ghost hunting show. But Cassidy Blake actually has one thing that makes her different from everyone else, and that's the fact that she nearly drowned and somehow got to see ghosts. Now she's actually someone responsible for making all the ghosts that couldn't cross over to the other world, to make them see who they really are and let them cross over. And in book 1 they went to Scotland and something happened, and in book 2 they went to Paris, to the Paris catacombs, and in book 3 they went to New Orleans, which is the most haunted city in the world, I believe, and a lot of stuff happens. It's a ghost story. It's a lot of fun. Bridge of Souls, 3.5 stars. Really liked it. Frodo, can you please not eat my Oreo? Frodo, can you not eat my Oreo? So the next book I read was on my train ride back from Belgium to the Netherlands, and that was A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating, which I did not like. I hated it. It's not even that I didn't like it, I hated it. Like, hated it. I didn't even give it a rating with the normal so many out of 5 stars. No, I actually rated it. If I had a physical copy, I would have hurled it out the window out of 5 stars. I hated it so much. It was so bad. A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon is about a witch who can't do magic and who is actually forced by her parents to do magic, to learn magic because she can't do it. And her family is like, everyone in our family is so great and everyone can do magic so well except for you. So they're all putting pressure on her, and so she tries to do magic. At first, she blows up a chicken. Poor chicken, what did he do to you? Secondly, she accidentally summoned a demon instead of salt? I think it was salt. Maybe no. She accidentally summoned a demon instead of flour. A demon. Flour. And not the pretty rosy flowers. No, flour. Baking flour. She summoned a demon instead of baking flour. How do you do that? But because she summoned the demon, she was stuck. Because the demon, when you summon one, had to make a bargain with her for her soul. And she didn't want that because this summoning was accidental. So because she made a stupid accident, she has to pay for it with her soul. Which, like, it's your own fault, dude. Just pay for it. She didn't want to. But following the story, she actually falls in love with this dude, with this demon. And it's so cringy. Like, he doesn't know shit. And she just... Okay, if you don't know shit, fine. This shit was so cringy, guys. Like, there were some sexy scenes. And I'm all about that. Give me some sexy scenes. If you do them well, great. If you don't, please stop. These were so cringy. Like, multiple times. While they had these sexy scenes. Oh, the lighting is getting bad, by the way. Multiple times when they had these sexy scenes, I just had to stop. And walk away for a few minutes. Just stop and do something else. Because this was so bad. It was so cringy. I was actively getting annoyed. I got angry at it. I nearly wanted to throw my Kobo away. I was like, just stop it. Just stop it. I hated it so much. At the end, she got to do magic. Oh, also the forest was dying. Because another demon made a bet. And the demon that was fucking the witch didn't do what the bet was saying he was supposed to be doing. So the demon that made the bet killed the forest, which angered the witch, which in turn angered the demon that the bet was all about. It was a journey. I didn't like it. This journey, no, I could do without. I was so angry. I hated it so much. Oh my god, the lighting is getting so bad. Why is the sun going down? Can you stay up, please? So, I moved you to my bookcase now. So, if you wanted to be one with the books, here's your chance. You are one with the books. The lighting was getting too bad. Let me see. What did I read next? The next thing I read was Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, which I liked. It's about a girl named Mara, whose sister is married off to the prince, and she, at some point in the next few months, is actually returned to her home because she is no longer alive. And the middle sister of Mara is actually married off to the same prince. And Mara actually finds out that the middle sister is constantly getting pregnant because the prince keeps hurting her when she's not pregnant. And Mara finds this not okay, which clearly it isn't. That's the reason why Mara goes on a little adventure to find a way to kill this prince. And she meets a lot of new friends. She meets a chicken with a demon inside of it. I want a chicken with a demon inside of it. Sounds a lot of fun. Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I like T. Kingfisher a lot. So yeah, 3.5 stars. Really liked it. The next book I read, I actually listened to the audiobook, which was City of Nightmares. That's about a girl named Ness who is afraid of nightmares. And the reason she's afraid of nightmares is because nightmares are actually real. So if you have a nightmare, you can actually become that nightmare. So if your biggest nightmare is a cockroach, you might actually become a cockroach, which is disgusting. It's just, I would be a cricket. I hate crickets. The fact that I have to feed my gecko crickets multiple times a week is not lost on me. The nightmares are real. There are spiders, vampires. If you're afraid to become a vampire, you can become a vampire. And then you can become a vampire if a vampire bites you. So there's a lot of ways to become a vampire, even if you don't drink. But a way to not get nightmares and not become a nightmare is actually by drinking the water. There's a medication sort of in the water that makes it so you don't get nightmares, and if you don't get nightmares, you don't become a nightmare, you don't have to get killed. So Ness, her sister, this is not a spoiler, this happens in the first part of the book. Ness, her sister, actually had a nightmare, and her nightmare was about spiders, and so that sister Ruby actually became a giant spider. And because she was a giant spider, what do? When you're a spider? You eat things. You catch flies in your web and you eat them. So Ness, her sister, actually accidentally ate their father. And the only reason Ness is still alive is because her sister didn't see Ness when she ran out of the house. So that's the only reason she survived. And because Ness, her sister, actually became a spider, Ness has been afraid of nightmares for a very, very long time. Like, she actively flinches when she comes across a nightmare. And because of that, she joins the Friends of the Restless Soul. I don't remember what they're called. But it's basically like a cult. They actually all say that it's a cult, except from Ness. She thinks it's just a therapy group. It's a cult. Ness joins this cult and she gets to live with them, with the friends, and she gets a job. She gets to help people. And at some point, Ness and her friend Priya go to a woman whose husband recently turned into a nightmare and was actually killed by the Nightmare Patrol. Let's call them that. He was killed by the Nightmare Patrol, and that woman also turned into a nightmare because she just didn't drink the water, or she drank alcohol, and in combination with the water that didn't work, so she became a nightmare too. And Priya, the friend, she kicked ass. She just floored this nightmare, and Ness just ran away. Like, she has this protocol she has to follow, and she didn't do it. She just ran away. And so Ness is actually on her last warning, and she gets sent on a boat to deliver packages on the other side of the river. And she meets a vampire who was a nightmare vampire, not a bitten vampire, but a nightmare vampire. And she thinks that this vampire, Sai, his name, she thinks Sai is going to kill a girl. So she, for some reason, even though she's afraid of nightmares, for some reason she goes after Sai and this strange girl, and she's like, hey, yo, this is a vampire. And then Sai runs away. For some reason, she runs after him, and then the boat blows up, and Ness is saved by this vampire, and she's constantly like, you're gonna murder me. He's like, I'm not gonna murder you. If I wanted to murder you, I would have let you drown. He's not gonna murder her. And at some point, she somehow figures that out too. They get back to mainland, and she loses her home, and she's trying to figure out who blew up the fucking boat, because nobody knows. They think it's Sai's dad. They think it's the manager, boss man of the Friends. It's a whole story. Someone blew up a boat. She's afraid of nightmares. He's a vampire. It's a thing. So yeah, that was City of Nightmares. 3.5 stars. Really liked it. It's not memorable, but I did like it, and I might just start listening to book 2 soon. So after City of Nightmares, I actually read 2 more books, but they're quite easy because they're mangas. I read Spy Family Volume 1 and Volume 2, which was very cute. It's about a spy, codenamed Midnight. He thinks it's very important you know his codename is Midnight. Codename Midnight, don't forget. So, Midnight is tasked to get a family to infiltrate into a highly prestigious school, and so he has to get a family. He has to get a child, and he has to get a wife, and he's a spy. He doesn't have either of those. So he goes to an orphanage and adopts a girl. She says she's 6. Maybe she is. Maybe she's younger. I don't know. Anya, the little girl, she's a telepath. So you have a spy and a telepath. That's a great combination. And you have the spy, you have the telepath, and now they have to get a mother. And they meet a woman in a... what's that called? So they meet a woman in the shop where they make clothing. In a shop. They meet a woman in a shop. In a clothing shop. It's not a clothing shop. What's the name? They meet a woman at the tailor's. They meet a woman at the tailor's. And she needs to find a boyfriend because she needs someone to take to a party because she's 27 and single, which is outrageous. You can be 27 and single. Anyways, she needs to find a boyfriend to take to this party. He needs to find a wife. He needs a wife. She needs the boyfriend. So we have a spy boyfriend, husband, a child who is a psychic, and a woman who is the girlfriend / wife, who is an assassin. It's a very dysfunctional family, and somehow they need to get the little girl, who is a 6-year-old, into a very prestigious school so they can bring down some evil bad guy. I'm only 2 volumes in. I really like it. 4 stars, both of them. It's very cute, very cozy, but murdery and cozy. It's a lot of fun. That's all I read in February. I'm gonna have to head out because the lighting is bad and my phone storage is getting full and it's annoying. So yeah, thank you for being here. I'll see you all next time. Bye.